Prosecutors in Northern California are fighting against Judge Aaron Persky, the person who sentenced a convicted rapist, Brock Turner, to a measly 6 months in jail after he was caught having sex with an unconscious woman behind a dumpster. Now, Judge Aaron Persky is the subject of a petition to basically get him out of the position that he's in right now. But also, the prosecutors in this case are arguing that he should not be the judge who oversees a case involving sexual assault. Let me give you the details on that. One of the prosecutors from Santa Clara County, it's actually the district attorney by the name of Jeff Rosen, says, "We lack confidence that Judge Aaron Persky can fairly participate in this upcoming hearing in which a male nurse sexually assaulted a female patient that was under anesthesia." A juror in the Stanford University sexual assault case wrote to Judge Persky saying he was disappointed and vehemently disagreed with the June 2nd sentence. He even wrote, "I expected that this case would serve as a very strong deterrent to on-campus assaults, but with the ridiculously lenient sentence, I am afraid that it makes a mockery of the whole trial." The juror wrote, concluding the letter with "shame on you."
Yeah, shame on him. And he's been shamed by the entire country. We have to have some expectations of the judgment of judges. I mean, it's in the title. Like, you have to. There are people who are way too harsh, which is a big problem, and it's a problem I think that we talk more about as a culture. But there are people who are way too lenient. And I mean, can you imagine if you were part of the family of the woman in the case that is going to be adjudicated?
You'd be very fearful,
You'd have no
right?
expectation that there would be actual justice, and why should you?
So, just to be clear, he was taken off that sexual assault case.
Yeah.
But then that raises the question of, well, if you're going to start taking a judge off cases because you do not trust his judgment, does it make sense for him to be a judge?
Well, yes, but then that's a fair question to ask, but getting a judge recalled is incredibly difficult and expensive. So someone would have to make it their mission. Essentially, some rich person would have to make it their mission.
There's a Stanford professor that's working on that right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't like the idea that a rich person could get a judge recalled. I don't. Like, I'd rather criticize Aaron Persky vehemently. I'd rather raise awareness and drive home to him that when somebody is convicted of the kind of sexual assault that Brock Turner was, and the prosecutors asked for 14 years, right? Or he could have gotten 14. The prosecutors asked for 6. You don't give 6 months knowing full well that he'll be out in 3 months. You know, you want to give 3 years? I guess what? People would have been mad, but we wouldn't be doing the story now.
No, we wouldn't.
And so, because then he would have gone to prison. He would have gone to state prison. And he would have served more, and he would have served closer to the full length time, as opposed to now this nonsense county jail rules, which he's going to be under. But the idea that we're going to recall a judge just because we didn't like one of his decisions, that, you know, I'm hesitant to use the phrase slippery slope, but I don't like that'll come back to bite us.
It's not but it's not just about one decision. I think that this one decision, in a case involving a violent act, kind of gives you a sense of his thinking and his lack of judgment.
I agree, and talking about the unsuitability of Judge Persky is a totally valid conversation, and one where we're all in agreement that he gave a crazy sentence, and the notion that a poorly represented or underrepresented, because public defenders frequently are quite good, but they're overwhelmed, but an underrepresented defendant who was black or Latino would have been given the same leniency is insane, and we all
can't say that.
And it's not just. It's not just the sentence. I want to just remind everyone his reasoning for the short sentence, which was prison would have a severe impact on him.
Right.
Yeah.
That goes right, because it has. But you never take that into account with other defendants. You just don't. But it's like, here's a kid who looks like he could be my kid.
Yeah.
Right. So therefore, it'll be particularly tough on him.
To that point, I would say, look, obviously the judge should bear most of our ill will, other than the guy, probably him too. And we should question his judgment. And I would say, at the very least, I don't know if they do like shadowing amongst judges, but there should be somebody like watching his judgments. Like, start a blog, and just every time he makes a judgment, let's report on what the sentence was and see over time if there's a pattern. But I think that the media also, like, some people should either temporarily be suspended or something with the way that they report on these crimes. When they insist on only showing pictures of, like, smiling pictures of them like in a full suit for certain types of defendants, and then for others they look for a mugshot, and then they make them look as rough and as dangerous as they can.
They look
like,
for other.
That matters.
Yeah, they look for other issues
But
in their
yeah.
past, whether they've ever had or marijuana or got caught smoking it, right?
In this particular guy's case, they literally not only kept talking about the fact that he was a swimmer, which, by the way, maybe this is wrong. If you swim, I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck if anybody's a swimmer. I don't care if you're as a student you're a swimmer, okay? I don't care if you were in the fencing club for like a month like I was.
It doesn't matter what your
a little bit. But your extracurriculars don't matter. They literally put his swimming times, like his lap times, in articles. He's a rapist.
That's his. That was the great thing that the victim, she wrote about, her statement.
Yeah.
That was such a great little line there that, like, whatever, by the third paragraph was included his swim times. Yeah.
It's amazing.
But again, I look, I hear you, and I refuse to get pigeonholed into be the guy defending Judge Persky, because I'm not. But I am uncomfortable with it takes 70,000 signatures. Like, this is a thing that costs money. So it's great that the Stanford professor is working on it. But it takes time and effort to get somebody recalled, and the easiest way to do it would be to have Charles Koch do it, pay for it, so that you could get the 70,000. And if it starts, because that'll work against justice more often than it works for justice.
I agree.
Is my fear. The terrible thing is that he just got, again, it's our inability to, our lack of interest in local politics, in municipal politics in this country in general, which has allowed sort of the right wing to take over state legislature after state legislature. Not that this guy's some right winger, I don't know anything about his politics. He sounds like a liberal. But this guy was running unopposed. Like, nobody ran against him. There's not, if in a year he was up next year, then by all means, let's get somebody to run against him. Let's beat him. Like, that's the best way to do it. Unfortunately, he's not up again for 6 years. So I would say continue to ridicule him. Maybe he'll resign.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, that would be good. I mean, it's just, I think about stories like this, kind of in our world and how things would go if we were accused of doing something terribly in our job, right? So let's say John, for instance, is like a disaster when it comes to reporting policy news, right? You're not. I'm just using you as I'm going to use myself.
Thank you for opening me up to that.
I like this example. Let's go back to use John.
All right, let's go back to John.
Yeah.
All right, so John can't report on policy. He gets the facts wrong. Right. He mixes up representatives that are endorsing different things. And it's just a nightmare, right? And so every time he does a policy story, everyone at TYT gets punished because the audience gets angry, members drop out, and it's like, this is a fucking horrendous show, right? And then we decide, you know what? John's really bad at reporting on policy stories. But, whatever, we're just going to let him slide. And we just won't have him do policy stories. But that's what his job entails. He's supposed to cover those types of stories. Like to say, you know what, this judge made one really, I don't know, he might have made other bad rulings, but he made a terrible ruling that got a lot of bad attention, right? All right, we're just going to take him off these cases. But he's a judge. He's supposed to rule in these cases, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just like, give him a pass, like, really rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, no, yeah. I hear you. It should, and he should get criticized.
Yeah.
And John is terrible at policy stories. That's what I hear.
I like to think that I have an attention to detail that is quite admirable from my point of view. I don't know.
All right,
anyway, I hope that people are going back through his past decisions and sentences. I assume that people are doing that.
I hope so.
Okay.